Ngozi, you are cursed. I should never have had you. I said it, you are the one blocking off my blessings. And Musu, instead of me to fall, you will fall before me.
My name is Ngozi. It means blessing. But growing up, it didn't really feel like one. Because the woman who gave me that name never treated me like it. I was born out of wedlock. My mother had me when she was still young. From what I was told, my father left before I could even walk. He didn't wait. He didn't look back. He just disappeared, leaving my mother with a baby and a heart full of shame and pain. I don't remember him, but I remember the look in my mother's eyes whenever she looked at me, like she was staring at the reason her life fell apart. She was a strong woman, but she was angry. Not just at me, at life, at the world, at herself. And when she couldn't fight the world, she fought me. From as far back as I can remember, I was her punching bag, not just with hands, but with words. Words that cut deeper than any knife. You ruined my life. If not for you, I would have a husband by now. You are my biggest mistake. Every insult planted a seed in my heart, and those seeds grew into silence. I stopped talking much. I learned to stay out of her way. When she shouted, I just nodded. When she cried, I cleaned her tears, even when she pushed me away. I kept thinking, maybe one day she'll see that I'm trying. Maybe one day she'll love me back. But that day never came. At school, I was quiet. I had no friends. When teachers asked why I never smiled, I would say, I'm just shy. But the truth was, it's hard to smile when you're not even sure you are wanted. Sometimes at night, I would sneak out to the small backyard, sit by the veranda, and talk to God. I'd whisper softly, if you can hear me, please make my mother happy. Please make her see that I'm not her enemy, and make her love me. I didn't want much, just peace in our small house. My mother worked hard. She's a nurse, but she also sold foodstuff in the small shop beside our compound whenever she wasn't on duty. But whenever something went wrong, if she lost money, if rain spoiled her goods, she would look at me and say, it's because of you, Ngozi. Since the day I had you, bad luck has followed me. I remember the day she told a neighbor, if I didn't have this child, my life would have been better. I was right there, washing plates. I froze. The water in my hands felt cold like ice. I wanted to cry, but I held it in. That night, I looked in the mirror and whispered to my reflection, maybe if I were never born, she would be happy. Those were the kinds of thoughts that lived in my mind at 12 years old. Not cartoons, not birthday dreams, just questions about why I existed. Then one day, everything changed. My mother met a man named Oga Mike. He was tall, calm, and spoke gently. He brought her gifts, rice, yam, money. He would call her beautiful Ada and tell her she deserved the world. I watched her laugh again for the first time in years. She smiled when his name came up. She even started humming songs while cooking. When she introduced him to me, I was nervous, but he smiled at me and said, Ngozi, you look just like your mother. What a beautiful child you are. That compliment made me blush. For once, it felt like maybe we could be a family. They got married a few months later. The wedding was small, but my mother looked radiant in her simple gown. I clapped so hard my palms hurt. I was so excited. Finally, my mother would love me. I truly believed God had answered my prayers. She finally seemed happy, and maybe that meant she'd be happy with me too. After the wedding, she told me, Ngozi, Mike is now a part of this family. He is now your father. Respect him and obey him. Don't cause any problems in this house. Do you hear me? I nodded quickly. I was ready to do anything to make things work. At first, everything was peaceful. Oga Mike would bring me sweets after school. He would ask how my classes were going. He even bought me a small wristwatch on my birthday, something my mother had never done. For a moment, I thought, maybe he's the father I never had. But the truth is, not everyone who smiles at you means well. Not every hand that feeds you is kind. Some people wear love like a mask. I didn't know it then. But soon, I was about to learn that the same house that brought me hope would become the same house that almost broke me completely. Because behind those kind eyes and polite words, there was something dark. Something waiting for when my mother wasn't home. That's where my story truly begins. I didn't choose my name, but maybe, just maybe, my story would show the world why I was named Ngozi. Because even broken beginnings can lead to blessings. After my mother married Oga Mike, things felt different. The air in our house was lighter. There was laughter where there used to be shouting. For once, my mother and I could eat together without her blaming me for something. Oga Mike brought peace, or at least that's what it looked like on the surface. He helped with rent, paid my school fees, and sometimes came home with gifts, a new pair of shoes, a bar of chocolate, a soft pat on my head with the words, "You're growing into a fine girl, Ngozi." I wanted to believe him. I really did. He was kind when my mother was around, gentle even, playful. But when she left for her night shifts at the hospital, something about him changed. It started small. The way he stared too long, the way his smile lingered when I passed by. I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I was just not used to kindness, I told myself. Maybe I was reading it wrong. But soon, the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. He would call me to sit beside him to watch TV together. He would ask strange questions like, "Do your friends tell you you're pretty?" Or say, "You're becoming a woman now, Ngozi. You have to learn how to please people." His tone was soft, but it felt wrong. Every part of me wanted to run, but I stayed because I didn't know what else to do. At night, when my mother was out, I would lock my door and pretend to sleep. Sometimes, I'd wake up at the sound of footsteps in the corridor, my heart racing so fast I could hear it in my ears. I prayed silently. "God, please make him go away. Please, make morning come quickly." I didn't tell anyone, not yet, because in our house, no one believed me. One Saturday afternoon, I was washing clothes in the backyard when Oga Mike came out, holding a bottle of soda. He said he bought it for me. I thanked him, but kept scrubbing the clothes. Then he said, "You don't have to fear me, Ngozi. I'm your father now." But the way he said it didn't sound like love. It sounded like power. That night, when my mother came home, I tried to talk to her. I said softly, "Mommy, I don't like the way Oga Mike looks at me sometimes." She frowned and snapped. "What are you trying to say? Do you want to ruin my marriage?" I shook my head quickly. "No, Mommy, I'm just..." "Ngozi!" she shouted. Stop it. Stop this nonsense before I throw you out of my house. Why are you trying to accuse my husband unjustly? So you are trying to frame a good man that God has given to me? A wonderful man like Mike? Get out of my sight before I design your body this night. I froze. Tears filled my eyes, but I wiped them away before they could fall. She didn't even look at me again. I went to bed that night and cried quietly into my pillow. My chest hurt so much that I had to bite it to stop myself from making a sound. Days passed, and I became a shadow in my own home. I moved around like a ghost, silent, small, careful not to be noticed. At school, my teachers asked why I was distracted. I lied and said, "I'm just tired." But inside, I was breaking. Each time my mother left the house, fear took her place. Each time Oga Mike smiled at me, it felt like a warning.
I remember one evening, the sky was dark and rain was falling heavily. My mother had gone to visit her friend. I was alone with him. He called my name from the sitting room. "Ngozi, come and take something from me." My hands shook. My legs refused to move. When I didn't answer, he banged on my door. "Ngozi, I said come here." I prayed under my breath. "God, please don't let this happen. Please don't let this happen again." Then, the house phone buzzed. It was my class teacher, reminding me about a school project. That small sound, that vibration, distracted him. He walked away. I sat there, breathing like I had just run a race. That was the night I made up my mind. I needed to tell someone who would listen. The next morning at school, I went to see Mrs. Bayu, our guidance counselor. She was one of those people who always smiled with her eyes, not just her lips. I walked into her office slowly, holding my bag like a shield. She said, "Ngozi, you've been quiet lately. What's wrong?" At first, I couldn't speak. I just stared at the floor. My throat was dry. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Whatever it is, you're safe here. You can tell me." Something in me broke. And for the first time, I told someone everything. All the nights I couldn't sleep. All the times I felt unsafe. All the words my mother refused to hear. Mrs. Bayo listened. Every word, every tear. She didn't interrupt. She didn't look shocked. She just nodded and said softly, "Ngozi, this is not your fault." Those 5 words felt like medicine, not your fault. No one had ever told me that before. For years, I carried guilt that didn't belong to me. That day, I felt it begin to fall off. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. She promised she would help me. She told me I was brave for speaking. And she said the law protects children like me. That night when I got home, I wrote in my notebook, "Maybe I'm not evil after all. Maybe I'm just a girl who needs to be heard." Looking back now, I realized that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it looks like a scared 13-year-old girl walking into a counselor's office with shaking hands and swollen eyes, choosing truth over silence. That's who I was. That's who I'll always be. The girl who spoke, even when her own mother refused to listen. After that day in Mrs. Bayer's office, I walked home lighter, but also afraid.
She had promised to help me, but I didn't know what that meant. Would my mother find out? Would Oga Mike get angry? Would things get worse? That night when I got home, I locked my door again. My hands still shook when I heard his footsteps. But this time, there was a small difference. I had someone on my side. I wasn't totally alone anymore. The next morning, Mrs. Bayo called me back to her office. She had already spoken to a child protection officer. She explained it all so gently. How they would help me stay safe, how they might need to speak to my mother, how I might have to tell my story again. I wanted to disappear. I didn't want to face my mother's eyes. But Mrs. Bayo said something that would stay with me for the rest of my life. Ngozi, silence protects the wrong person. Speaking protects the right one. Those words settled in my heart like fire and peace at the same time. A week later, the officer came to our house with a woman counselor. My mother's face changed the moment she saw them standing at the door. Her voice rose, sharp and trembling. "Who are you people? What is this?"
When they explained, she turned to me, her eyes burning. "So, this is what you've been doing behind my back?" I couldn't speak. My throat closed up. The officer tried to calm her down. "Madam, please, we just need to make sure everyone is safe. Your daughter has been very brave. She is going through a lot in this house and you're not helping. Are you not supposed to protect your child?" But my mother didn't want to listen. She crossed her arms and shouted, "Brave! She is lying. She's jealous of my marriage. She wants to destroy my happiness. This girl has always prayed to see me suffering. She wants nothing good for me. She's just a little witch sent from hell to frustrate my life. She is telling you all lies. Look at her with that devilish innocent face." Her words cut deeper than I can explain. I felt small, invisible, like no one would ever believe me. That was the day I learned that sometimes truth doesn't sound believable when it comes from a child. The officers left quietly, promising to follow up. When the door closed, my mother turned on me. "Ngozi, you are cursed. I should never have had you. I said it. You are the one blocking off my blessings. Amusu, instead of me to fall, you will fall before me. Ajonwa." I just stood there. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but I didn't make a sound. Crying only made her angrier. That night, I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I could still hear her words echoing. "You are cursed. You are cursed. You are cursed." Over and over again. I whispered into the dark, "God, if I'm really a curse, why do I feel pain? Why do I want peace?" The next morning, I packed a few clothes and hid them inside my school bag, just in case I needed to run. At school, Mrs. Bayo noticed my red eyes. She didn't ask too many questions. She just gave me a warm smile and said, "You did the right thing, Ngozi. You are not alone." Those words were like sunlight in a room that had been dark for years. She called the child protection officer again that day. They decided to take careful steps to protect me while avoiding more fights at home. I didn't know what the next days would bring, but I knew one thing. My voice had already changed something. The following weekend, Oga Mike tried to act normal, greeting neighbors, cracking jokes, pretending nothing had happened. But inside the house, the air was thick with tension. I avoided him completely. I didn't eat when he was around. I didn't stay in the same room.
I started leaving for school earlier and coming back late, waiting for my mother to return before stepping inside. Silence became my new shield. I spoke less, watched more. Every movement in the house felt like a warning. But one evening, while I was washing dishes, he came close and said quietly, "Ngozi, you think anyone will believe you? You're just a small girl. I'm the man of this house." My heart pounded, but I looked up and said, "Someone already does." I didn't know where that courage came from. Maybe it was fear that turned into power. He stared at me for a moment, then walked away. That night, for the first time, I slept with a small smile. Because even though everything was still dangerous, I had spoken. And once you start speaking, you don't go back to silence easily. The following week, I was called again to Mrs. Bayo's office. She told me they were arranging a meeting with my mother and that I might have to leave home for a while, just until things were safe. My eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to leave my school, my small world, but deep inside, I knew she was right. It's okay to be scared, Ngozi. Being scared doesn't make you weak. It means you still care. That night, I sat by the window, staring at the moon. I thought of my mother, probably asleep in her room. I thought of myself, wide awake, holding on to a hope that one day she would understand. I didn't know how long it would take, but I whispered one last prayer before sleeping. God, if I can't change my mother's heart, please change my story. My story is just getting started. Stay tuned for the continuation. Click on the notification bell so that you will be notified when the next part of my story continues. Also, subscribe and drop your comments down below. See you soon.